The head of the UN Refugee Agency has expressed shock over the terrible violence inflicted on Rohingya Muslims fleeing Myanmar.
I was really struck by the fear that these people carry with themselves of what they have gone through and seen back in Myanmar. Parents killed, families divided, wounds inflicted, rapes perpetrated on women. There's a lot of terrible violence that has occurred, and it will take a long time for people to heal their wounds, longer than satisfying their basic needs, I think.
On a visit to Khoda Palong refugee camp in southeastern Bangladesh, Grandi spoke to the refugees about their conditions in the camp. The UN top official says the displaced Rohingya want to go back, but with assurances of safety and security. The UN says more than 420,000 Rohingya have fled to Bangladesh over the past weeks amid the army's crackdown. It has also described Myanmar's military operation against the country's Muslims as ethnic cleansing. The Rohingya have faced decades of persecution and discrimination at the hands of the army and extremist Buddhists in the Southeast Asian country.
Yeah, I mean, we traveled with Rohingya refugees coming into Bangladesh yesterday on a boat. The numbers are really dropping off. They're not the same numbers we saw 10 days ago, but they're still coming. There's now around 500,000 in these camps. Conditions are terrible. We traveled with some Rohingyas yesterday into the camp to see their first sight of the camp. They've lost everything back at home, and now that as they looked out the window at these camps, at their new home, these refugees might be here for years or decades under very difficult conditions. But the major problems now are the fact that there's another 500,000 Rohingyas still in Myanmar, in the south of the state. Now, they're in villages. We visited them about 10 days ago, and they're in these villages or in camps fearing for their lives. So what's going to happen to them? So that's one of the major problems now, that these 500,000 Rohingyas still there, and also now the 500,000 Rohingyas in these camps. The Bangladeshi government is giving them food and trying to help them at the moment, but as the United Nations says, that there needs to be a more international coordinated effort, because Bangladesh is a poor country. It's doing what it can, but it's not a long-term solution to allow it only for the Bangladeshi government.
And Johnny, from what I remember, the UN had said it needed about $200 million to keep these refugees going for the next 6 months. Is there any sign that that money will be received by the UN in time?
Not yet. I mean, I spoke to a Bangladeshi government official just a few days ago. He says that it will take months for any foreign aid to come in, and it doesn't as yet. It's not yet clear whether other governments are willing to help. They haven't been very strong in criticizing the ethnic cleansing to begin with. So what are they going to be like giving aid? I went to a hospital yesterday. We're going back to another hospital today, and it's interesting there that before there were gunshot wounds and burn injuries. Now it's increasingly disease. Patients with disease coming in from the camps. So definitely more international aid needs to get into the United Nations and to the Bangladeshi government.